In June 2019, a law firm in London filed a trademark application. 100 items, jumpers, notebooks, books, even teaching materials. All of it under one name, Sussex Royal. The paperwork was real, the website was already live, the Instagram account had millions of followers, a foundation was being built under the same name, and the merchandise list read like a shop. I'm Edmund Hale, and 8 months later, the Queen would take that name away from them personally. Here's the part most people never understood. They weren't selling a jumper, they were selling a word, royal. That's it. That's the thing that was never theirs. You can't trademark it. You can't monetize it. In Britain, the word royal in a brand isn't decoration, it's permission. And permission comes from one person. And to understand how they got there, you have to go back one more year. Because until 2019, all 4 of them shared a single charity, the Royal Foundation. William, Kate, Harry, Meghan, one organization, one name. Then they split it. Harry and Meghan walked out and set up their own. And when they chose what to call it, they didn't pick a family name. They didn't pick Archewell, that came later. They picked the one word that came with the whole institution attached, and they had the audience to sell it. The Sussex Royal account had built a following in the millions, faster than almost any account in royal history. Think about what that's worth. 11 million people, a global name, and a word that money genuinely cannot buy. Any brand consultant would have told them the same thing. The word was the asset. Everything else was packaging. By early 2020, the Queen and her senior officials had reached a conclusion. It was no longer tenable for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex to keep the word royal in their branding. Not, please reconsider. Not, let's discuss it. It was over. And it's worth saying plainly. Nobody had done anything illegal. The word royal isn't protected by a normal trademark. It's protected by custom, and by permission, and by a woman who decides who gets it. The trademark applications were withdrawn. The website came down. The foundation was renamed. Thousands of pounds, gone overnight. But that's not the part that stayed with me. Because Elizabeth had done this before, to a woman she liked far more than Meghan. And that time she was even colder. Let's go back to January 2020. Sandringham, the Queen, Charles, William and Harry, in a room together to decide what stepping back would actually mean. The Sussexes went in believing they could keep one foot inside, half in, half out, financial independence, but the brand stays. And on paper, it almost made sense. They'd stop taking public money, they'd fund themselves. Surely that's what everyone wanted, but the palace was doing different maths. If you earn from the word royal, then the crown is standing behind whatever you sell. Every jar, every jumper, every deal. And within months of that meeting, the deals started arriving. Netflix, Spotify, numbers with a lot of zeros. Now imagine those signatures with royal still stamped on the letterhead. That's what Elizabeth saw coming. And she was 3 moves ahead. And that was the miscalculation. You can leave the family. You cannot take the family name with you and sell it. So look at what they'd actually built. SussexRoyal.com. Merchandise categories filed across clothing, stationery, printed matter, charitable fundraising. A global trademark strategy. Reports at the time put the spend in the thousands. That's not a hobby. That's a company. And the most valuable asset in it was a word they'd been given for free and were now planning to charge for. The ruling came in February 2020. They would stop using Sussex Royal from the spring. No appeal, no compromise. And the way it was announced tells you everything. The statement went up on their own website, the same website they were about to delete. They had to publish their own defeat, on the platform they'd paid for. Under the logo they were losing. There's a version of that sentence that reads like a punishment, because it was won, and the press understood immediately. The headlines weren't about charity governance. They were about a king's grandson being told no, in public by his grandmother. Royal insiders claim the message that came back was 1 line long. I've never seen it. Nobody has. But every account of that period says the same thing. It wasn't a negotiation. Sussex Royal became Archewell, a new name, a new website, and a very expensive lesson. And the detail I keep coming back to is the stationery. They'd already had it printed, letterheads, cards, everything. A whole identity, boxed up and binned, because one woman in Norfolk said no. A fictional palace account written years later described a room where the branded material was quietly disposed of. There's no confirmation any of that happened, but it stuck because it captured something people felt was true. Now here's what I promised you. This wasn't the first time Elizabeth took a title from a woman in this family. In 1996, after the divorce, Diana lost the right to be called Her Royal Highness. She kept Princess of Wales. She lost the HRH, and by every account she found it humiliating. The letters, the curtsies, the small daily reminders that she was outside now, and she'd already been warned. The year before, she'd sat down for the most famous interview in royal history.
In the breakdown of your marriage?
Very much so.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
And said things about that family nobody had ever said on camera. The HRH went the year after. I'm not going to tell you those 2 facts are connected because nobody has ever proved it, but you're allowed to notice the order they happened in. It was reported at the time that Diana was told her own sons would outrank her at official events, that the boys were upset about it, that William promised to give it back to her one day. He never got the chance. She died the following summer, and the 2 children who walked behind that coffin had already learned the rule the hard way. The royal part can be removed by one person with one document. Same family, same woman making the decision, and the same principle. The royal part is lent to you. It is never yours. Harry watched that happen to his mother when he was 11, and 24 years later, he filed a trademark with the word royal in it. Whether that was defiance or grief or simply bad advice, nobody outside that family can tell you. If you want more stories, the palace would rather stay buried. Subscribe, because the next part of this one is still happening right now. Because in 2025, a card surfaced. It had gone out with a gift basket, a jar of jam from Meghan's lifestyle brand. The card read, "With the compliments of HRH, the Duchess of Sussex." HRH, the exact style they agreed with Elizabeth they would no longer use. Sources close to the Duchess pushed back hard. Private note, they said, personal gift, not commercial, not public, no breach of anything. And technically, the agreement supports that reading. The palace said in 2020 that the Sussexes would not use their HRH titles because they were no longer working members of the family. It restricted the use. It never removed the titles. So she still has it. She just isn't supposed to use it where anyone can see. A card tucked inside a gift box, going to one woman in America. That is about as close to the line as you can stand without stepping over it. And that defense is reasonable. A private card isn't a shop window, but the timing is what makes people uncomfortable. Because that card went out with a product from a brand that she sells. And then this weekend, she sat down as a guest judge on MasterChef Australia and told the room she doesn't want to be called Duchess. So which is it? The woman who doesn't want the title, or the woman whose compliments card carries the highest style in the country? I don't think she's lying. I think both things are true, and that's the whole problem with half leaving. Because look at what the brand is now. No crest, no coronet, no royal anywhere on the jar. Just a name and a lifestyle. Jam, flowers, a cooking show, a podcast. It's the most ordinary business in the world, run by one of the least ordinary women alive. And it still sells, which is the part nobody says out loud. The name on the label changed. The reason people are curious never did. She's still selling proximity to that family. She's just not allowed to print it on the box. 6 years on, the arrangement Elizabeth designed is still holding. No HRH in public. No royal on a product. A title she keeps but cannot use. And think about how strange that is. She's a duchess who's asked not to be called Duchess. A princess by marriage who can't say Her Royal Highness out loud. She has the rank, she just doesn't have the permission. Those are 2 completely different things, and almost nobody outside that family understands the difference. That distinction was Elizabeth's design. Keep the titles, remove the use. It looks generous on paper, and it functions like a leash. It's the cleverest thing she ever did to them, because taking the titles outright would have made martyrs of them. Leaving them the titles, and quietly removing every way to profit from them, that didn't make martyrs. It made a problem that never quite goes away. There's one more thread. It has been reported that when William becomes king, he intends to remove their HRH styles for good. If that happens, Elizabeth's ruling stops being a moment. It becomes the beginning of something permanent. And William has never publicly softened on any of it. Not the split, not the brand, not the interviews that followed. Sussex Royal lasted 8 months. It cost thousands. It ended in a single decision by a woman who had made that exact decision once before. Here's where I land. Elizabeth wasn't protecting a word. She was protecting the only thing the crown actually owns, the idea that royalty isn't for sale. And whatever you think of Meghan, she found the hard edge of that faster than anyone in modern history. There's a version of this where she's the villain, a woman who married in, saw what the name was worth and tried to take it with her when she left. And there's a version where she's just the person who said the quiet part out loud, that the family has always traded on that name. She simply wanted her share in writing. I've read everything on this and I still can't tell you which one is true. So tell me honestly, down in the comments, was Elizabeth right to take the word back? Or did she make an enemy she didn't need to make? I'm Edmund Hale. See you next time.